Jonathan, Latin America wasn't part of China's original vision for the Belt and Road Initiative, but it's high on the agenda at the CELAC China Forum in Chile. Margaret Myers is the director of the Latin America and the World Program at the Inter-American Dialogue and joins me here in our Washington studio. Margaret, welcome.
Thank you.
So on one side of this gathering, you have China. On the other side, you have 33 Latin American and Caribbean countries. How can these two sides help each other, starting with the Belt and Road Initiative?
Yeah, I mean, as was mentioned, Latin America wasn't originally part of the Belt and Road Initiative at all. The initiative is focused primarily on Eurasia and also to a degree Africa. But Latin America was sort of left out for a number of years. And now, I mean, from President Xi Jinping and from other very high-level officials in China, we've been hearing considerable mention of Latin America in reference to the Belt and Road Initiative. It's been called, or certain countries in particular have been called important nodes on the natural extension of the Belt and Road. And many are thinking now at this point that we might expect, if not, as part of the China CELAC Forum, which, is this week, then perhaps in the coming months, a formal inclusion of the region in the Belt and Road. But regardless of whether that happens or not, we're seeing a lot of enhanced engagement on the part of Chinese companies.
And let me get to that. So the main themes, innovation, technology, and investment in infrastructure. Do we expect any concrete, substantial agreements, or is this just about dialogue, about just talking?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we will see some major announcements. On the trade front, in particular, there's been talk that China will perhaps introduce an idea of a sort of region-wide trade agreement. We don't exactly know what that would look like.
And which countries would be involved?
In which countries, whether it would be the region, CELAC as a whole, or certain sub-regions. And of course, that's been attempted in the past, and it's a challenging thing to achieve. But I think we'll hear talk about that, possibly also about extending some elements of, or the sort of the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative framework to Latin America. So more in the way of concrete infrastructure projects potentially announced as well. And then, as you mentioned, innovation is going to be a hot topic. I think there will be some cooperative agreements in production capacity, specifically manufacturing, upgrading, some other sort of high-tech investments and so on.
And some of these countries might have different interests. You take Cuba, Bolivia, and Venezuela, they might have totally different needs than for example, Chile and Brazil.
That's right, yeah.
What kind of influence has China had on the region's economic and political development, especially, Margaret, in the last 10, 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen just a surge in Chinese activity over the past 2 decades, really, but since President Xi Jinping, became China's preeminent leader, there's been even more interest in the region, and we've seen more in the way of engagement by a much wider variety of Chinese companies, not only state-owned enterprises but private ones. And so the influence has been remarkable, especially on the economic side. China's become the top trade partner for a number of countries in the region. Foreign direct investment is surging, especially in certain areas, infrastructure, extractives, for example, and finance. I mean, Chinese banks, China Development Bank, China Export-Import Bank are providing billions in finance on an annual basis.
Margaret Myers, thank you so much.